Game on.
Welcome to Comeback Liner. For the fans, by the fans. To my left is Sinan, and to my right is Kyle and Q. And today's docket is the NBA trade deadline. Q, what do you think about the Cavaliers trades? And how does that influence LeBron's legacy?
It's too early to tell. They got a couple of players, Clarkson, Larry Nance. The biggest thing is just shipping out the players. Isaiah Thomas, he's performed better since the trade. He actually looks like a shell of himself. But, I mean, that whole Cleveland locker room was toxic. So, I mean, they really needed to shake a lot of things up. And since the trade, it's looked good. They looked really good against the Thunder. They were away that game, and yeah, they've come out with a couple of W's, and they've looked surprisingly good. Their defense actually looks like a competent defense and a team that you could actually consider, should I say, beating the Warriors.
I think the biggest thing was James lost his posse. I mean, he legitimately...
Posse, Derrick Rose.
No, I mean,
Dwayne
you
Wade.
get rid of Dwayne
Hey, Phil
Wade.
Jackson, take it easy.
You get rid of Dwayne Wade. It's his right-hand man. You get rid of, didn't they get rid of Shumpert too? I mean, you've got a whole bunch of players that he pined to get there on that team, and they finally just said, all right, we're not competing. Your guys are gone, and they got rid of them all. So now he's got to carry the load again.
Got rid of his best friend. So that's kind of, and he was okay with it. So it kind of showed that, hey, Wade's not the same guy. So I was reading about a report where after a loss, LeBron would go to Wade, hey, you want to show up, practice starts at 10, you want to show up at 8, get some stuff done so we can get, a little bit, improve on some things. And Wade would be like, nah, I'm all right, I'll show up around 9:30, 9:45. So I think he knows Wade reached that part of his career where he's just kind of off in the, his fifth year of college, where you're just kind of riding it out, just getting through, you going through the steps.
Wade still thinks he's an elite player, but he's not. He's old.
Getting paid like $20 million.
We saw that here in Chicago, though. I mean, I think, honestly, that was one of the biggest problems is it divided up the team because Wade has such a big ego that he kind of feels like a lot of things need to be run through him. And just like Sinan just addressed, he doesn't want to put in the work. So when you don't put in the work, your teammates aren't going to respect you. And if your teammates don't respect you, and Dwayne Wade's sitting there in team meetings pointing out Kevin Love, all of a sudden that creates a division within the locker room. And I mean, they needed to do something with
Think
that.
about it back last year when he was here, when Butler was here. Butler was screaming to be coached harder because he felt like nobody was.
Well, you go from Tom Thibodeau to this.
Agreed, but I mean, you look at
we have now.
if Wade is doing exactly in Cleveland what he's did here. I mean, it's the same thing. I'm the veteran. You have to listen to what I say, and I don't need to show up anymore. I've already done that. I don't have to put my dues in. I've done them all.
And that's what happened in Chicago. I mean, Rajon Rondo wrote that poetic letter out about his veterans like Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett. They wouldn't have done that. Mm-hmm. And Dwayne Wade's acting like he's an alpha. He's not.
Well, he's an alpha. He's just not performing on the court as an alpha, and that's really what matters.
He's an alpha in his own mind.
Yeah, he was a beast, though.
Yeah, was an alpha. Was Robert Parrish an alpha with the 72 and 10 Bulls?
Well, he was known as a guy you don't F with definitely for sure.
No, I mean, prime Dwayne Wade, amazing. You got to give it to him. But speaking about Cleveland, I think, the upgrades should work out, so now they should last 5 games against the Warriors before the Warriors win the championship instead of a sweep.
The Warriors are second place in the West. Do you guys actually think Houston can compete with the Warriors? Do you think there is a reason? Do you think they've kind of taken a step back, or do you think Houston's kind of excelling right now?
I think the Warriors... have kind of been there, done that kind of thing. They know they can turn it on. I think they're just kind of making sure they're staying healthy, getting through the motions. The team's been around together. They didn't lose any big pieces, so I think they know that if they need to turn it on, they're just going to turn it on. I think they're at that point. I think Steve Kerr's smart enough to get to them.
Kerr
that point.
Seems like he's experimenting at this point. He even said he's like, I'm letting the players coach themselves. It seems like, and it's like, well, everyone's so smart. They're all MVP candidates. They jack 40-foot jumpers with like 50% ratios. Like, it's kind of hard to lose,
Do you think there's a point though where players stop putting in the work? And all of a sudden, I mean, they won the championship
so
last
much
year.
skill
They've been to
talent.
the finals the last 3 years. I mean, is it possible they're just overly confident and cocky?
It could be, but
should
it also be, they're training their bodies to peak near the playoffs. There's teams, like veteran teams with stars, do that really well, right? After the Bulls went 72-10, they kind of went. I mean, they had Jordan, who was a psycho, who's going to go all out, doesn't like to lose anything. But, they don't have that Jordan, but, they still timed it right where the playoffs, they were not the favorites against the Jazz when the Jazz had home field. But then when the, final started, it was a whole different story. I think
Well, you remember, the mail does not deliver on Sunday.
That was 97 when Malone missed those free throws. That was crucial.
My God. I mean, yeah. But,
The mailman.
yeah, other stuff on basketball. I'm still so disappointed with the Bulls.
Not
I
Trey
mean-
Lopez.
No, I mean, not Lopez. I just felt like they could have done more, right? And, Lopez, John Paxson says they were only getting like offers for late second round. I just have a hard time believing that's true. If that is true, then okay, I understand. Keeping Lopez, having a veteran presence around, helping practice, helping the younger guys develop. But then he goes on the air and says, yeah, but I'm going to let Christian Felicio play some more.
Cristiano Felicia.
Yeah,
Mister, I paid you
I
nine.
refuse to pronounce his name right because I don't like anybody that plays 3 minutes a game.
Yeah, but he's
hasn't earned that.
he's the third highest paid player in the team too.
I mean, goes from 800,000 to 8 million for doing nothing.
Yeah.
Hey, you're gonna sit on the bench. We're gonna pay you 10x, but you sit on the bench.
But you can't tell me in the scope in the landscape of the league. I mean, your trade deadline just passed. That Lopez wasn't a required person. I mean, you look at some of the injuries. Like Boogie Cousins is down. I mean, that's a big guy.
Yeah, but they traded for Mirotic.
Correct, but
There's a giant difference in play style between Mirotic and Cousins.
Yeah, but they might have preferred Mirotic because he can actually stretch the floor, which Cousins does.
Yeah.
Lopez isn't stretching the
No,
floor
he's
at all.
he's a lane clogger.
Yeah, but you also need those big men that are gonna give you those minutes off the bench. I mean, if you're the Warriors, would you rather have Zaza Pachulia or Robin Lopez? Zaza Pachulia just causes more technicals. Yeah, he's that rough and tough guy, but they don't need that anymore, right? They had a talk from their GM about toning it down, stop getting technicals. So why wouldn't they? I'm sure they're not offering a late second round where they can get a big man like that, right? So I think there's a lot of teams that can use a big man that plays hard, rebounds, does the small things. Yeah, he can't catch the ball, but
So hypothetically, let's say all they're getting is the second round pick. I do think there's value in leadership, especially with the young group of players, especially if Lopez is going to show up to practice hard, and show those young players what it's like to be a professional. What else could the Bulls have done?
They didn't have any other trade
I don't know.
chips.
Kept
mean,
Tom Thibodeau 7
They
years
traded
ago?
Mirotic. What else is there really to do to kind of tank besides trade Lopez?
yeah, I mean, Paxson goes on there and says they're going to bring up Cameron Payne and let him play to see what they have there. Yeah, they're clearly going to be tanking, right? But I'm just saying, you want as many picks as possible. I'm just saying, like, the leadership, shouldn't it also come from the coach and how he sets the rules and tones? Like, yeah, I agree, like, you need players that are showing the young guys, but a lot of that stuff, I think you need to get that from the coach, and we don't have that from the coach either.
We don't have a vocal coach. There's no question about it. He's not a screamer. He's barely a talker.
Hoiberg is the king of nepotism. It's like the embodiment of what nepotism is. It's Garpax's friend. They gave him a boatload of money with the owner's cash.
Which friend?
Garpax?
That's two different people.
I know it is, but that's Hoiberg's their guy.
Yeah, but
friend.
at the end of the day, in the locker room, I mean, the coach is in there, but there needs to be a player who's teaching everybody else how you need to act like a professional. And I mean, even on the Bulls championship teams, they always had veteran leadership that wasn't just Jordan and Pippen. And that's kind of where Parrish comes in and he plays his role.
Yeah.
Even with the World Series winning Cubs from what feels like 10 years ago. But, I mean, that's where a guy like David Ross comes in. Every
Jarvis.
team has some veteran leadership that's normally on the end of the bench.
That's true, but that's where you also have to see what you have with Zach LaVine. Is he willing to take that next step? You know, he's healthy now. He's playing pretty good, right? I think you just don't want a guy that's going to take minutes away from these younger people when you're trying to rebuild and figure out who's who. So maybe I'm not at the practice facility. Maybe Robin Lopez does, bring all that stuff. I just don't. I find it hard to believe, but
I don't.
It's Robin Lopez.
It was nice to see Levine not pull a Derrick Rose, by the way, and be like, "No, I got to take this season easy." He's out there
Derrick
playing
Rose of Salt
25
Lake
minutes.
City?
Yeah.
Is he signed anywhere yet?
No, Rose
He's not
is.
solid. He got cut.
He got cut.
Can you imagine Derrick Rose, his story, and then he's in a Mormon Salt Lake City?
The youngest
Him and his
MVP in
posse
the
come
NBA.
Well, speaking of Robert Parrish,
Oh yeah, Q. What do you think about his comments?
Yeah, I forgot about that. It was just the anniversary of Larry Bird's historic game where he decided to play the game lefty for 3 quarters. They had won every game on the road trip, so he tells the guys that he's going to play 3 quarters lefty. He ends up putting 40-plus points up, ends up winning the game in overtime. He scores 20 points left-handed. Name me one other story in the NBA where another player did that.
you can't. I mean, okay.
So
Exactly
what
what
happened?
Parrish said was he said Paul Pierce was the better player.
Better
player.
offensive player.
Not
He was
better
a better
player.
offensive player.
Okay, he said he was a better offensive player than Larry Bird, and I think that's a complete joke.
I mean, if they're going by talent wise, I'd agree. But at the end of the day, you got to go by the results.
I don't even
And
think talent wise, skill wise, Bird is one of the top of all time.
He was one of the least. I mean, I think
Yeah, we've already cut
he's.
athleticism ratio.
Yeah, I'm
skill
just saying,
ratio.
athleticism wise, Bird was not
Oh, yeah,
there.
yeah.
But I'm saying you got to look at the results, and you put up Larry Bird's 5 best years, you put up Paul Pierce's 5 best years, and then you put up LeBron James' 5 best years. Larry Bird and LeBron James have very similar numbers. So if he's saying Paul Pierce is a better offensive player than Larry Bird, then he should be saying Larry Bird's a better offensive player than LeBron James. Which is just, that's why I'm so angry. I don't even want to talk about
Oh
it.
yeah, he's
If you
a
look
better
at-
shooter, better 3-point shooter, better 2-point shooter, better shooter. Period.
I think
Even look at their overall numbers, though. I mean, he's as a player, they're not even close.
no, it's.
Bird doubled him in both assists and rebounds.
I think Parrish has hit that one point of his life. What is he? He's got to be 70 right now, right? I mean, he was playing when he was 65 with the Bulls. I think this is where Alzheimer's kicks in. So I think that's why I can't even believe they gave it airtime.
So, any final comments on the NBA trade deadline or anything that's happened in the NBA? You know, Porzingis tore his ACL. Jimmy Buckets missed his final jumper against his old team.
I'm not sure how well this is going to play into it, but the NCAA probe into basketball right now might alter how the draft even plays out this year. From what I'm hearing, there's 50 or 50 different schools that are on this list, and they're going to have a lot of ineligible players.
It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, end of the day, Bulls, please stop winning. I mean, you are
Agreed.
messing up a tank.
We need you to
Yeah.
tank a little more.
They're getting close, getting that top 5, top 6 pick, but now they're what, 8th or 9th?
Well, that was
again?
when Dunn and Markkanen were out. Now
Yeah,
that they're back,
but-
he's back from baby leave, and Dunn
Yeah, what happened-
is out of the concussion protocol. But at the end of the day, at least this NBA season is a little bit more entertaining than last season. We knew at the end of the year last year it was going to be Cavs versus Warriors. And we knew the Warriors were going to win, which is exactly what happened. At least this year, there's a little doubt in my mind where I'm like, maybe they're not going to win it this year. That
beats
Cavs
them from the
Boston
East?
series might actually be entertaining too. I think the Cavs are going to win, but at least it's going to be entertaining. And at the end of the day, as sports fans, since my Bulls aren't in the hunt for a title, you just want to be entertained.
For a decade straight.
No, I think the Cavs, Celtics, if Kyrie shows up, dethrones LeBron, I mean, that's a great story.
Oh my God.
He could happen,
I
right?
hope Kyrie does it. So I love Kyrie.
Yeah,
I'm so glad he
Kyrie's-
left Cleveland. Just screw you, LeBron. I hate you, man.
Well, I mean, sooner or later, he says he's going to fall off the earth because the earth is flat.
Oh, yeah. I mean, It is what it is. Okay, so the next topic of discussion is Yu Darvish. The big signing by the Cubs. The Cubs got the #1 top dog, 6 years, $126 million. I'll throw this to the Cubs fan, Kyle. So what are your thoughts on the Cubs' new ace, Yu Darvish?
I think for the price tag they paid, it's a great move. I mean, last time we were talking about which player we'd rather have in Darvish or Arrieta. I was leaning on the Arrieta side. They signed Darvish. Now, don't take this the wrong way, but the way I'm looking at it now, I can't see Arrieta getting any money from anybody. So you might be seeing him come back in a 1-year deal too.
Like a $35 million 1-year contract or something?
No way they're giving him that kind of money.
Why not? It's 1 year. No risk. That's why you pay the extra
There's
premium.
a tax threshold that nobody wants to reach.
Or do you know how far under the Cubs are? I don't know what their payroll actually is right now.
I think they're nearing it. So
Are they?
not
Yeah,
gonna
they
be,
are
after the
nearing
Darvish
it.
sign?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because there's going to be.
Because we lost Lackey, we lost Arrieta. It wasn't like he was
Oh,
cheap last year.
We
He had
freed
a
up
huge
around
arbitration
80
case.
Yeah, we freed up around $80 million.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I think he'll. At the end of the day, the Darvish signing, I think, puts the Cubs, in a great spot to.
It gives them one of the
compete,
top
right?
rotations in baseball.
They take two important pieces from the Dodgers, who beat them in the playoffs last year. They took Brandon Morrow, who's going to be their
Stud.
closer. He's going to be their closer.
If you didn't know, he's going to be
Theo,
stud.
on record, said there is no controversy. He will be our closer. And then they took a key pitcher in Darvish. So, and then, they also made a lot of trades. The Dodgers got a little weaker. Cubs got a little better. Fifth pitcher, you got rid of Lackey, so that's great.
See,
think
the best part
Lackey's
about the
gone.
Darvish signing, though, is it didn't cost us a draft pick.
Correct.
And it was under market value. He was projected a 6 years, $168 million. That's what Fangraphs said.
Everything right now is going to be under market value because nobody wants to spend the big contracts.
That's why Theo pounced.
Yeah,
too.
that's why Theo did a great move. He was probably going to hold
stud.
back. He saw that the market went down. He made his attack, and he still puts them in a position where they have financial flexibility.
Agreed.
So, yeah, I think the contract was great. If it ends up being the 150, but that means he must have won at least
multiple
two
Cy Youngs, which would be awesome and well worth an extra $30 million, in my opinion.
Correct. Yeah, it's a little long for a guy with that much mileage on his arm. But again, at the end of the day, if it brings you one World Series, who cares about those final years?
Do you think his best days are ahead of him? Because Theo came out that they're expecting him to pitch his best baseball. So far, we've got a career 3.4 ERA. That's from the American League to the National League, though. What are your expectations of him?
I don't want.
Okay,
go ahead. No, go ahead.
So he has a career 3.4 ERA and a career 3.3 FIP, and he has 11 K per nine for his career. This guy is going to lead the National League in strikeouts easily, or he's going to compete with Kershaw until he breaks his back. And he averages about 4 to 5 wins per year. And here's some stats. He's a
Wait, I don't want to hear about
per
old
year.
stats.
Well,
I
no,
want to
this
hear
is last
about
year.
projected stats. No, I want to. What do you think he's going to
Okay,
do?
so you're saying for a couple months ago he's going to drop velocity. Here, I'll read you some stats.
Well, you're
Steve.
buying what he's going to do in the future, not what he did before.
Oh, no, this is 2017. So as in the World Series, and the entire year, his average fastball 94.7, his sinker is 93.5, his slider 82.4. His splitter is 88.6. He's not losing his stuff. He is elite level stuff. Theo is all in.
He gained velocity this past
he's
season.
a stud. He's a stud.
Correct. Arrieta
average.
was losing.
Yes.
I agreed. Now the difference is he's also on he's finally fully recovered from Tommy John. He's comfortable here pitching. I mean, if his first few seasons here, it was all over the place with injuries. I mean, he is not. Has he had one full healthy season?
Yeah, he said he had been
He's
DL.
might have had
but-
one, but like you mentioned, it's not. He's not consistently pitching 200 innings.
No, he has not.
Well, that's his issue. It's not his stuff. It's his.
and that's why I think the Cubs are set really well with their
We have
rotation.
depth. We have quality
There's
depth.
depth, and there's also one guy waiting in the wings that nobody seems to be talking about.
Maples?
No, you've got Drew Smiley.
Oh yeah, Smiley.
He's not going to be
He's
back.
going to be out for the year, though.
No, he's coming back in July.
Yeah, he's one of those guys where they're gonna play it by ear.
They don't want to push him to come back, but if they need him to come back, he can. I mean, he had surgery, I believe, in June of last year, so that gives you a full year recovery time.
I don't know. Me personally, I'm just happy that the Cubs at least got one of Arrieta or Darvish. We're competing with some juggernaut teams with the Astros, the Dodgers, the Indians. There's powerhouses, and really the top level of the MLB is like 6 or 8 teams where all the top talent teams have all the good players, and then there's a whole gulf of crappy teams. So for the Cubs, you're not competing against 30 teams or winning the division. That's a lock. You're competing with that small group of 8 people. So Theo's probably utilizing very different analytics to even get these things, like high leverage pitchers and people with great stuff translate well to playoff wins.
So is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because Theo's known for hitting. He's not known for kind of picking up good pitchers.
I mean, Lester's been good with the Cubs. What are you talking about?
He's picked up Arrieta, Hendricks. I mean, those guys.
He has hit on some pitching now.
We won a World Series with the staff, of course.
Yeah, but I mean,
those were trades. Yeah, drafting.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
Theo came out this
him.
week and he
he's not gonna
specifically
draft.
said he needs to be better.
I agree, not drafting, but I think it's changed from what Boston was trying to accomplish to what he's trying to accomplish with the Cubs. I think he's done great signings. Even trading for Mike Montgomery, everybody's like, what is this for? And
look what it
turned
did.
out to be clutch for us. Hey, injury, throw him in there. We need him bullpen. Great lefty, bring him out. And he can pitch an inning, get one out, or give you 5-6 innings. The Hendricks trade with the Rangers worked out.
Oh, geez.
I mean, this Lester signing.
Ryan
worked
Dempster
out.
is the reason why we have Kyle Hendricks. Just
That's why
think
he
about
got
that.
that ring. He's like, hey, Dempster, thank you.
All right. Well, you mentioned that there's only 8 teams or so.
Yeah.
Who are your division winners and your 2 wild card teams?
Each one. I'm gonna go with the Bo Sox next year. It's heavily reliant on if Price comes back.
As a division winner or as the wild card?
I'll say the division. It doesn't matter anyway. It's either them or the Yankees, right? But I kind of like having Sale and Price at the top of the rotation. Pomeroy has been good. You have the Cy Young Porcello from a couple of years ago. I think the Astros easily win their division. Then the Indians.
Are you doing your thing where you're not projecting again? You're just looking at old numbers,
No,
like
I
David
think-
Price
I
when
know
he
what
was
the
really
teams
good.
are.
Because David Price
He's not-
hasn't been
he's
really
not
good in
really
I'm
Boston.
saying
And-
it's contingent that he could be okay, guys. Obviously.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we're on the same page here because a
If
lot
he's
of
hurt,
that
they're
staff.
still good.
I mean,
The team, I think Boston's awesome. It's half the team's drafted by Theo. I mean, of course I like the team. Theo's my idol.
so better than the Yankees. I mean, the offense
Okay,
still has no
until
power.
Giancarlo
So
Stanton
unless
gets hurt,
they,
I don't know what to say. I don't think they have the pitching.
oh, they didn't have Stanton last year, and they almost went to the World Series.
Are they relying on Tanaka again? What are the Yankees even?
The Yankees for pitching have Tanaka, Gray, and Severino as their top 3.
Yeah, dude, that does not move the needle.
You still
for
have
me.
CC Sabathia, who's older than dirt.
Yeah.
And then what? I think Green is their 5th starter.
Yeah, but don't forget their bullpen.
Yeah, they have nasty bullpen.
which essentially won them the wild card game against the Twins when
Yeah.
Severino couldn't get out of the first inning.
It's true.
So, I mean, a healthy, strong bullpen, that's a lot of wins throughout the year, right? So,
Cena, what about the NL for you? Who do you have?
well, I'm going to go, my obvious choice, the Cubs in the Central.
Wait, you don't think the Brewers are going to take over the Cubs?
I think Cardinals are going to make a run because
At the Cardinals.
they're
yeah, you
it's
guys
true.
suck.
I'm not going to disagree there, but in the West, I love the move. Actually, the moves that the Giants have made. Getting Longoria, at third, great veteran presence, but I still think the Dodgers have a little too much.
Yeah, it's not even close.
You forgot a name, McCutcheon too.
There's Andrew McCutchen
yeah.
there.
McCutchen.
Correct. Sorry. So I love the moves they made. Hopefully their pitching, Madison Bumgarner will be healthy. Their pitching will be solid. But I still think the Dodgers have a little too much firepower, unless Bellinger takes a step back.
Which I see happening.
Yeah,
He was exposed beyond belief in the playoffs.
I think a lot of the rookies that blew up last year are going to have a big pullback. I think
Who
it's
do
gonna
you
be a
like
big
in the
market.
West?
Dodgers easily.
Okay, so we're both Giants. What do you
They're
like
old.
about the Dodgers though? There's Alex Wood. When does he ever pitch a full season? Rich Hill.
Wait. What is you got a blister yet?
Is he ever going to bring up Kershaw?
I mean, Maeda looked
Not to
great.
bring up Kershaw.
Kershaw hasn't been healthy the last 2 years.
Kershaw's got a chronic back injury. This history's shown up now 3 seasons in a row. It could be an issue.
He's still Kershaw, and he's still
Yeah,
pitching.
he's still an M.
So he's still giving up home runs in big games. That's what you're saying?
But we're talking about who's going to win the.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if we're going to talk playoffs, I'm not going to argue that.
Yeah, I'll call
But I'm
Cubs
talking
all
about
day for
regular
playoffs.
season.
Darvish versus Kershaw. Redemption time.
Yeah.
He's going to shove it down their
But
giggy at their
Darvish
place.
didn't look too good in the World Series either.
You know, as he's tipping
He was
his pitches.
tipping pitches.
Yeah.
You think Theo's not going to stop that?
What about the NL East?
Nationals.
The Washington's got that.
I mean, yeah, there's
think
no
so?
there's no competition.
No.
No real competition.
Did you
Everything's
guys
always
forget about
pending-
Todd Father? That's easily puts the Mets as World Series favorites.
The Mets only stand a
joking.
chance if their starting rotation remains healthy.
I
And
think you guys
David
are-
Wright
yeah.
plays a full season.
David Wright's gone.
Okay, all right, if those are your contingencies, the season's over for the Mets. Their season ticket holders to mail it back in because those players are not playing. None of them.
Well, take a look at what they did in 15. I mean, when they had a healthy starting rotation,
Yeah, they beat the
walked
Cubs.
through everybody with no offense. They had no
They
offense.
beat the Cubs with their elite top three. Matt Harvey's gone. What happened with him? He had some bladder deal. I don't
Do you
know.
guys really think the Nationals are going to have that pitching rotation they did? The same pitching
Dude, it's
rotation?
Scherzer and Strasburg.
That's it.
How do you?
Still,
That's all you
okay,
need.
Gio
And
Gonzalez
gonna
is
fall
not
back.
going to.
Roark
Gio
might still
Gonzalez.
Gonzalez isn't going to repeat. Cole's not good. And Roark is a mid-80s, and he's not Kyle Hendricks.
Dude, that's just their 3 and 4 pitchers. They have the top 1-2 combo
okay.
in baseball.
So
And then
how good is
Zimmerman?
the division?
That sucks. That's why they're gonna waltz into the playoffs.
Exactly. So they'll be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think it'll be closer than what we think. I don't think they're going to walk away in that division. I just don't see Zimmerman having that same kind of year.
No chance.
No way.
You know, their pitching's not going to be as great.
The only two players I see repeating for them is Scherzer and Murphy. They're the only two guys that I can consistently
Oh, yeah.
see.
Oh, dude,
I agree.
Studs draft in fantasy.
Sinan's doing that thing where he likes to pick both sides. So who's going to win the division, Sinan?
No, I agree with you guys. The Nationals are going to win, but you guys are saying it's going to be a cakewalk, which I think it'll
I don't
come
think
down.
it'll be a cakewalk, but baseball's
It's
unpredictable.
yeah, it's
You
never been a
can't
cakewalk.
predict injuries. I mean, Strasburg goes down.
Well,
Every
or
year.
Well,
Scherzer goes down, and all
Yeah,
of
if they
a
lose
sudden,
Scherzer, I think there's a
You're
really close.
You're forgetting something. Theo did predict Cubs within 5 years after he took over, so it's kind of predictable with Theo.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's gonna win a couple more too.
yeah.
All right. Well, before we run out of time, I want to touch on a couple other things. What do you think with the free agent signings that are going on? Darvish signed, and just recently Hosmer, I believe, is the last night signed, and signed for a pretty big deal. But other than that, Scott Boras still has the 4 largest free agents out on the market. They've all turned down similar money to what the other two have signed. Are they going anywhere?
I mean, they're gonna want to get paid. I mean, let's be honest. If we were all free agents sitting on the open market with $60 million contracts, you really think we're not gonna accept it?
But if you're Jake Arrieta and you've turned down $22 million a season for 4 years already, and JD Martinez has turned down $21 million a season for 5,
Some costs. You readjust.
where do you think they're going to get that kind of money elsewhere? Nobody's forking out that money.
But even if they're not, at some point, they're going to have to. I mean, they want to play. They're going to have to sign those contracts.
They're going to have to play someplace.
Yeah.
They can't
They'll
just.
eventually sign. It might be in May, but whatever. That's their problem.
Yeah, I think Boris is doing him a disservice. I agree with you there, Kyle. I think they will get signed. I think they're not going to get as much as money as they want. I think they're reaching that boiling point where pitchers are, they're seeing their buddies and, on Instagram and social media at camp, having fun, doing the drills. They're going to start missing that. They're going to want to be out there. I think they're going to end up accepting less money.
Scott Boras has already come out and said that he is holding his own spring training for the free agents he
I mean,
has.
it's smart to keep them fresh. And that
I agree it's smart, but I still don't understand how they expect to know. I mean, can you imagine going to March 30th and not signing a contract to a team because you don't want to play for less than $25 million a season?
Eventually, you have to settle.
I mean, Kendry Morales did it a few years ago. Yeah, and exactly. I think the biggest question is why?
Yeah.
Why is this happening? Is it the big free agent class next year? Because baseball is doing really well and it's making a ton of money. There's a lot of money in these TV contracts. Why all of a sudden? Because we saw a ton of big contracts recently, and now all of a sudden this year the market is kind of completely crashed.
I think
like you were saying, Darvish was projected for $160 million, and he settles on 125, 126.
I think the biggest reason is the Yankees and Dodgers are not playing ball in this offseason. Let's be honest here, they're the biggest spenders, and they've always been the biggest spenders, and they are the main driver for these big-name free agents every single year. They're the top in the game. They're sitting out to get under the tax threshold for the next couple of years, and they're free agents. So.
I believe that's twofold, though. You've got, not only that, you've got teams that want next year's free agent draft. That class, like we've talked about previously, is just huge. Mm-hmm. But there's also the second end. I believe GMs have finally gotten smart. Mm. You look right now, there's 3 main contracts come to mind. You take a look at Albert Pujols, David Price, and Miguel Cabrera's contracts. Cabrera is signed for another 8 seasons at over $30 million a year. That's a ton of dead money.
It's insane.
It is absolutely ridiculous. Pujols.
That's a lot of beers.
Pujols has got 4 more seasons at 27, 28, 29, and $30 million a season. And then you got David Price, who's still signed for 5 more seasons at $35 million a year.
Yeah, stupid money. I don't know.
We keep talking about the free agent class for next year, and you hear about it all the time. Not every team is going to get Machado or Bryce Harper. And outside of that, I mean, Kershaw's also a free agent.
If he opts. He gets out.
Yeah, he will.
Which you think he will.
You hope he does.
So, I
there'll
mean,
be
outside
Jason
of
Hayward
that,
on the open market. No, I'm just kidding.
That's a wish.
I'm curious if teams are just kind of being unrealistic, thinking they have a shot with these guys when they really don't. I guess I'm not in the office. I don't know what's going on behind closed doors, but
you always had those teams that spent a lot of money. The Tigers spent a lot of money. They weren't afraid to spend that money, but they're in rebuilding mode.
Well,
so that's
look how much it's cost them now.
Well, the owner really wanted to win before he died.
Correct.
And he was reaching 90s, and he's like, screw it, go all in. And then he's like, okay, I guess I'm dying without a World Series ring.
But that's one team right now. There's about 6 or 8 teams that spend money, I think. That's one team that's not spending money. Mm-hmm. You got the Nationals. They're not going to spend a lot of money.
Especially with Harper coming up.
They got Harper coming up. They've already spent Scherzer.
Well, they're backloaded through their. I mean, they've got the top prospect in baseball, and they can't play him yet.
Correct. So Dodgers want to get under the threshold. Mm-hmm. Yankees want to get under the threshold. Mm-hmm. I mean, those are 4 Cubs. They're making moves. They're
getting the free discounted studs on the free agent.
Well, do you think just teams tanking in general has really hurt the market? Because there's 10 to 15 teams that aren't even trying to win.
How many big
and
market
if you're not
ones,
trying to win, you're not signing big free agents.
I don't know how many teams are technically tanking. If you look, a lot of these teams that were bad are all now young teams. They're very young, and they don't want to bring in the big free agent because it's going to take the time away from these younger players. You look at Atlanta, you look at Philly, you look at
the Padres.
The Padres just signed Hosmer, but Hosmer's 28.
Exactly.
So, I mean,
does that mean the Padres are trying to win?
I love that these great players are signing with shitty teams that have nowhere to go. That's one less player you have to worry about as a Cub fan, right? Hey, Hosmer,
San Diego has a very young and very up and coming team. They can surprise. Probably in about 2 seasons, they're going to be good.
5 home runs in fantasy next year. Hosmer.
Yeah, I mean,
he committed offensive suicide going there, but
I mean,
Yonder Alonso.
We just need JD Martinez to sign, Tampa Bay Rays or something like that. We just need these big names to sign.
Yeah, Jake Arrieta goes to the Brewers. No, what are you doing?
Well,
I'm waiting for him to do something like that.
I don't think I think Jake is going to end up taking a 1-year deal, trying to
bet on himself.
1 year, $25 million.
I don't think so.
No.
Off topic, pace of play. You guys like for rule changes? Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Kyle hates change, so it's no surprise there.
Mr. Traditionalist over here.
I'm sorry. I hated the fact that you took out the 4-pitch intentional walk. I absolutely hate that you're going to throw a maximum amount of mound visits. Now a catcher going out to the mound counts as a visit? Come on.
Well, do you know why the Cubs they came out and they said it's because all the new technology has been looking at the signals when the catcher's
but it goes against both teams.
Yeah, I know that, but I'm saying that he came out. The point is they go to the mound to switch up the calls.
Yeah, now
they're changing it up so people don't catch on.
You can't.
Especially it's going to make it interesting.
It's a game of strategy, and if you cannot communicate with your catcher as a pitcher, how the hell are you supposed to know? I'm going off a signal 3 instead of 1, or but to cause it as a as a mound visit. I mean, that's
Well,
ridiculous.
to be fair, Wilson Contreras is so annoying with those mound visits.
I mean, game length was at an all-time high, though.
Yeah.
So, which is ironic because they
No,
tried to, they
should've-
altered the rules last year to speed the game up, and it didn't work.
Yeah,
It was
they
even longer.
altered it
Called
to
the
save
replay.
8 seconds.
The replay takes so long in
Yeah.
baseball.
Oh my god.
yeah, I mean, that's kind of silly. Shouldn't it be like kind of like a ye or knee? It takes 1 second. It's like
Yeah, you had the video.
They
Somebody
need-
up top.
They
makes the
need
call.
they need to remove the umpire in the box or wherever the last umpire is. He needs to just be able to. It needs to be somebody. Hell, it can be a computer program.
Can you just have an iPad in your back pocket or something? Like, oh, there it is. Or the Jumbotron, like, oh, it's
Yeah,
obvious.
yeah, I mean, why
you
do
know?
you have to get all 4 umpires together and then all 4 you walk over to the dugout, put the headset on?
Guys,
Well, it's not that easy.
Guys.
It's a bang-bang
No,
play.
there's one solution. Mark Burley needs to be an umpire. He'll get the game going. I mean, did that guy get games going? When he pitched out there, it was like 2 hours and 20 minutes. I felt cheated out of my money. Like, you owe me 40 more
Burley was
minutes,
awesome.
Burley.
He's my favorite side.
No.
Oh, after Frank Thomas, I'd say Burley.
Yeah, no, but yeah, I usually don't care about the rule changes. The only rule change I'm still annoyed by is running into the catcher. That whole
I'm okay with the. I hate the phantom out at second base on the double play turn. The whole thing
That never really made sense.
the sliding into second base. If you're going to touch the base and you can hold the base, there is no way possible it's considered a malicious slide. You have to get to the base somehow. And the fielder's going to know, hey, there's a guy on first base. I'm trying to turn double play. I got to get my ass out of the way. Otherwise, I'm going to get run over.
I think we should go back in time and Ty Cobb's era and sharpen those cleats and make that legal again.
No, I'm with Sinan. I think the Buster Posey rule at the plate
Yeah, it's
is
just
really the
one-
most annoying one.
one injury, and they want to change the history of it. But that's a big piece. You want to get a catcher that can,
the blocking or
And
not. What do they call it? Blocking the lane.
and it cost the Cubs.
What's it?
I mean,
In
the
the playoffs.
rule is definitely weird now. It's weird.
But the change, I like the pace. Speed it up. I mean, there's a lot of dead time in baseball.
Well, the thing that the one part that annoys me is their idea is they're going to get more fans to watch the game if they speed the game up. But I mean, so they're going to save 18 seconds here and there.
Yeah, I mean,
5 minutes is not going to change how many fans watch the game. I'm sorry.
the fans are coming back because MLB finally has those young stars that are marketable.
Exactly.
From Trout
Oh, God, what
to
a
Judge
great pass
to
here.
Stanton to Bryant to Rizzo. They've got
To Moncada.
to Moncada, right?
Yeah.
And all his,
Eloy Jimenez.
all his 7 fans, they're in there, right? But no, I'm saying they've got a lot of these young stars. Usually, a lot of their stars, they went through a phase where a lot of the stars were, his Latin players, where the interviews, like David Ortiz was great, right? But they're
Sammy Sosa.
yeah, but you didn't have those relatable players. But now you got a lot of these players coming from the American system, that are fun, changing the game. The Harper and his intensity.
Mike Trout.
Mike Trout, from New Jersey, like you've got like local support on top of the state. People around him, yeah, I want to watch these guys. And they're young and good.
I think baseball's going to kill it.
Well, the home run's back too.
That's
I mean,
that's a
they
whole
did
no-
say chicks
I-
dig the long ball.
The
And
100%.
last year there were a
Pisses me
whole lot
off
of
so
long
much.
balls. So
It's because all these players were good already. You didn't need to juice the balls. Now everyone's going to crush every record. It's
and
going to
I'm
make it like not worthwhile anymore.
Do you
It's gonna be
realize
like
that
90s?
in 2015 there were 21 players? No, I'm sorry, 21 players that hit 30 or more home runs. 16, that number jumped to, I believe it was 43. Last year, it was 64 players hit 30 or more. That means two guys a team.
Yeah, I know what stat I'm not drafting in fantasy this year.
Home runs are they're a dime a dozen right now. I hate to say it, but it's a common
Minus Hosmer. He's the only one that's not going to have any improvement at all.
well, in fairness, is it a skewed statistic? I mean, Stanton did hit 59 home runs,
Well,
so he's making
mean,
up for somebody.
but look at all
Judge hit in the 50s.
There's a lot of home runs that even if when they ran Statcast on, should not have been a home run, and it made it over the wall.
well, I mean, you can't really say that about Stanton and Judge.
No,
They
their
were
balls
freaks
they
of
hit
nature.
were.
That home run derby, they were just jacking like 40 home runs at like 120 miles an hour. It's like, don't they even get tired ever? It's like 50 straight swings at full blast and no one's like huffing or puffing. All right, so that is enough for today's episode of Comeback Liner. Check us out on PulsarHorizon.com and subscribe to us on YouTube.
Go
Have a good
Cubs.
day.